everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you another PlayStation 4 review, and today I am reviewing the brand new historical real-time strategy game Ancestors Legacy that was just released on PlayStation 4 last week, certainly in the UK. And its full price I think is $29.99, however I got it I think for $24.99 because I'm a PlayStation Plus member, so if you act quick you'll probably get this a little bit cheaper. So it's not a full price game this, and like I said, this is like a historical real-time strategy game. Now it would seem that real-time strategy games are getting a bit of a resurgence on PlayStation 4. We just had They Are Billions the other week, and that I reviewed on the channel, and now we've got another one. Now this one essentially, as I've explained, is a historical one, and you get a few options when you play this game. You get the single player campaigns. Now you get a few options with the single player campaigns. There are like 4 factions in this game. You get the Vikings, you get the Britons, the Britannia, you get Germans like Knights from Germany, and you get Slavs, i.e. Polish. So you get 4 different factions, 4 different campaigns, and each has 5 chapters. Now however, each of those campaigns, 5 chapters, there are like 2 perspectives on each one, so essentially it's 10 chapters for each campaign and for each faction. So you've got a pretty meaty campaign to make your way through here using all these different factions. However, you have to start with the Viking one before you can unlock the others, and it kind of feels like the Viking one is where they really want you to be. I mean, all the promotional stuff is Viking related, the intro is Viking related, all this kind of stuff. However, all the other campaigns and stories are actually, even though they look differently and they act slightly differently, it's kind of copy and paste. It's kind of the same thing on different campaigns, just, you know, the maps look different, and the way they dress looks slightly different, but it is very, very similar no matter who you play with. You also have a multiplayer option that I haven't tried yet, but if you're a multiplayer fan, you can have a go at that. And there is also a skirmish mode that you can play with bots, so it gives you a multitude of options to play this game, that much is for sure. Now essentially the best way I can break this game down is, well, certainly if you're a real-time strategy fan, you're going to pick up and play this game fairly quickly. It's fairly easy to pick up. There's a reasonably meaty tutorial as soon as you get into the game. It explains the game well enough if you have a decent understanding of how these games work in the first place. If this is your first time into a real-time strategy game, you might find it a little bit difficult to pick up some of the mechanics. However, I don't think the mechanics are particularly advanced here. They're fairly basic for what you're getting, and the best way I can describe this game is essentially it's build, recruit and raid. So you've got a few different mechanics here with the game. You've got your army that essentially you'll go through like a couple of little story maps, and then you're given the opportunity to build. And it's quite like building mechanics here. You build your own little base, and by that you can improve your barracks. You can build a well, you can build tents and archer ranges and all that kind of stuff, and improve them and increase them and all that kind of stuff. And that's how you research better armor and equipment, all that kind of stuff. But it's fairly light mechanics, I would say. You know, don't expect Command and Conquer type stuff here because you are not going to get it. But it works well enough for this game, and it's simple enough for if you like beginners into this genre. And essentially, what you're going out into the map. You are taking over camps, and a lot of these camps have enemies in there that you've got to take out, and then you have to burn down like the top building. You burn it down and then you rebuild it as one of your own, and you then own that camp, and then you can send the villagers out to get you food and metals, iron, all the stuff you need to feed your army, improve it and all that kind of stuff. However, that camp is never always safe because it can be attacked at any time, so you've also got to keep in mind you might want to be leaving like units behind to defend that camp so that you can keep it up and running. So you spread out throughout the map, and you're taking over camps, you're improving them, strengthening them, improving your armies, and the ultimate goal is to head on to the enemy encampments and take those out, which are more heavily fortified, better defenders. So you better be sure that when you go into these camps that you have got an army big enough and strong enough and powerful enough to put up a good fight. Otherwise you will essentially lose. And that's my biggest tip when you're playing this game from me is the bigger the army the better, basically, and keep researching new weapons and armour to improve the defence. Now that's it. Depending on which faction you play with or which army you play with, like I say, the aesthetics look different, and the graphics and how it looks and the maps look different, but essentially it's the same gameplay with each one, with a different campaign, so a different storyline. But you could argue it would certainly get repetitive. Now, for a game, I would call this a budget game. It's certainly not a full price game. The aesthetics and the graphics, I think, are pretty impressive for what we're getting here. You can zoom right into the battle, and you can see the battle unfold. Now you can't contribute to the battle, which is a little bit frustrating, and the novelty does wear off fairly quickly, because you can't really influence the battle at all. You've just got to hope your army is stronger than the one you're facing. But when you zoom in, you can see all the cool animations. You can see like your warriors doing different moves and your spearmen doing different moves. You've got your archers at the back firing the arrows in, and you can change your stance to find traps on the map. So otherwise you'll just walk straight into them. So if you change your stance, like if you like, the scouts and stuff will spot these traps on the map, and then you've got to like burn them down to make sure that you don't get caught in them, because essentially you can get ambushed along the maps. So you've got to keep all this kind of stuff in mind as you're going through the map, and it doesn't get an awful lot more complex than that. Now I've got to say, even though it does at times feel quite repetitive, this game, it's super addictive as well. It's not overly difficult, even though you can change the difficulty level. I'd recommend, especially if you're new to this genre, starting on certainly easy to mid-level, just to get used to the mechanics and how the game works, and before you ramp up the difficulty levels. You've got the more your warriors and soldiers survive in battles, they will continue to level up and get stronger. The longer they stay alive, the more you research in regards to weapon upgrades and armour upgrades, they become more and more powerful. So essentially you could have one soldier that is as strong as 10 at one point, because he's got great armour and he's really experienced, and he's survived a lot of battles. So there's lots of different mechanics going on here. You're raiding villages, you're burning down things and rebuilding them up so that you could take them over. When you get to the enemy encampments, you're taking out the enemies, and then essentially you've got to burn down their head base in order to take over that map. And then you move from segment to segment, map to map, doing the similar things throughout the game. So if that sort of thing sounds interesting to you, then I think you could do far worse than this. It's I've got to say, I think it's a really quite well made game for the price. I think it looks really nice. I think it does everything you want a real-time strategy game to do. It's not overly complex. Sometimes you'll get a real-time strategy game and it's so deep in the mechanics and stuff, you kind of get bored with it, in a sense of, you don't want it to be too complex, and this one isn't too complex, and it's quite easy to pick up and play, and it's highly addictive. So I'm actually going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I was really quite impressed with it. I don't think it's been promoted well enough. I don't think the title does it justice. Ancestors Legacy. I don't think a lot of people are going to realise exactly what this is. But hopefully this will promote it a little bit and give you a chance to go out there and play it. And if you're not so sure, I don't think it'll be long before it'll be in a sale anyway. You'll be able to pick this up for 15 quid in a couple of weeks, a couple of months certainly anyway. So That's my review for Ancestors Legacy. I hope you found it useful. If you did, click the like button. If you're new, click subscribe, and of course I'll see you next time on Screen Stars.